Hi, are you struggling to find time to manage all of your priorities, your family, your ministry work, or acts of service, and to find just a little bit of time in the day for you, for self development or self care? What if I told you balancing all of this isn't about perfection? Well, today I'd like to share a few thoughts I have on managing these, what I like to call three treasured priorities: our family, our ministry work, and taking care of ourselves. Hi, I'm Kendra Rocho. I've gone from exec tech to kingdom warrior, and welcome to my YouTube channel, Inspired by His Grace, where we're a community of faith. We share uplifting stories and practical advice, and most importantly, encouragement through God's Word. Let's talk about our first priority: family, and that family foundation. I'd like to share just three practical tips with you. You've probably heard them all before, but I think it's worth repeating. So let's look at the very first one. Schedule regular quality time with your family. Now, for you, I don't know really what that might look like, but it's not about the quantity of time. It's not like, oh, I have to spend 8, 9, 10 hours a day with my family. It's that quality time. Maybe it's when you're sitting down for dinner, or maybe it's when you're driving your children to school. Grab hold of that time with that family member. And the second one is open communication. So when you're having that quality time with your beloved family member, how can you foster that dialogue, that open communication? It's a great time, especially if you're driving them to school. You have a captive audience. So talk to them, ask them open-ended questions. Not like, how was your day? But did your day go today as expected? That might foster that communication. And then the third practical advice that I have is to support and encourage each other. You know, I don't think there's anything better than when my husband or my children have a new activity or something that they're really excited about, that I can sit there and listen and just support them and be like a cheerleader for them. I think that that is a great way to show that they matter to us and they're a priority for us. So again, those three practical tips to prioritize our family is schedule regular quality time, open communication, and support and encourage one another. Let me give you a real quick example of how I do this in my family. We like to play games. And one of the games that we like to play, if you can believe it or not, actually takes 2 hours to play. And so that to me is a lot of quality time with my family. We get to talk during that time frame. And it's a good time for, hey, what new project are you working on? And that helps with encouragement and support. So I'd like to leave you with a Bible verse regarding our family structure and our family priorities. So it is from Colossians 3, verses 13 through 14. Now, I took this out of the Message. That's just a version of the Bible. Usually I use the NIV, but I thought this one really applied to us today. And it says, be even-tempered, content with second place, quick to forgive an offense. Forgive as quickly as the Master forgave you. And regardless of what else you put on, wear love. It's your basic all-purpose garment. Never be without it. I think that's perfect when it comes to our families. We need to be quick to forgive. We need to always put on love. And it doesn't hurt either to be content with coming in second place, especially when you're playing games. The next area is our commitments to serving others. I don't know if you're anything like me, but I always want to take advantage of opportunities that come up, you know, whether it's helping a neighbor, teaching Sunday school, delivering a meal, leading a Bible study. There's just so many opportunities that we have that we can participate in. Some people call these ministries, some call them acts of service. But I think the real important thing is that we can't do it all. We just talked about prioritizing our family, but we need to prioritize which opportunities we are going to take a hold of. So how can we do that? How can we discern which ones to say yes to and which ones to say no to? I have just a couple little practical tips on that. The first one is to pray and reflect over it. An opportunity might come your way and you may say, this is perfect. I've been praying about this. I've been hoping that this opportunity would come my way. But then you might just be saying yes because somebody else might be saying yes. Really take that time. The second is we really need to evaluate what are our gifts and talents as it relates to that serving of others. You know, it does no good if I volunteer to cook at the bake sale when I don't even know how to put together a recipe. That's not my gifts and talents. But if somebody says, hey, can you fill in a Bible study today? I'm the first to raise my hand for that. So think about that when you're trying to discern, should you take that opportunity, participate in that service to others or that ministry. Another is consider all those other current commitments you have. You have commitments to your family. You have commitments to yourself. Look at your schedule and say, would that fit in? I have a lot more practical tips for how to discern. I'm going to link that in the description below. Try to take that time to look through those. And as always, I would love to leave you with a Bible verse with helping you on discerning what acts of services or ministries that you should take hold of. 1 Corinthians 14:40 says, but everything should be done in a fitting and orderly way. When we serve, make sure it's fitting in and that it's orderly. If we're disrupting our families or other commitments that we have, that's probably not the right time to accept that one. And the other is Ecclesiastes 3:1. I love this one. There is a time for everything and a season for every activity under heaven. What is this telling us? This is telling us that it may be the right time. It may not be the right time. But you know what else it tells me? It says every season. You never know. That season may come back to you in a year or two or even 5 years. If that's something that's really in your heart, that season will probably come back to you. The last of our 3 treasured priorities is self-care, self-development. It's about you, actually. And how do you find time for you during the day? I think it is super important that if we don't take time for ourselves, it's like the analogy that you hear when you get on the airplane. Put the oxygen mask on yourself first before the person next to you. Now, I'm not talking that we have to take, 8-10 hours during the day for ourselves. A lot of us work. We care for others. We do want to take care of our families. We have commitments to our acts of service or ministry work. Well, how are you going to find time for you? And how do we communicate that to our family? Well, let's think back to the first family priority that we had, and to take regular time and open communication and support and encourage one another. Maybe you could say during that quality time that you're having with your loved one, hey, I was thinking that in the morning, I would love before the whole family gets going, could I have that 15 minutes to myself? If you see the door closed for 15 minutes, maybe I'm journaling or reading my Bible. Would that be okay with everyone? You might be surprised. They might even say, take 30 minutes. Or somebody may say, hey, I've got breakfast. You go ahead and you take that time. Or maybe you want to take a walk after dinner and reflect on your day. You might be surprised, but that open communication, somebody actually might have a better idea than you had for yourself. I'll give you a really quick example. I wanted to create a little tiny space in my house for me so that I could journal and, go through my daily calendar. And so I talked about that during one of my card games. And, my family actually said, let's put a desk there. Let's get a nice chair there. Let's set up not just a little nook. Let's set up a beautiful nook for you. So I love that. And I would love to leave you with some Bible verses on how Jesus and God encourage us to take time alone and reflect on our priorities and our family. So I have my Bible here, and I have just a few verses. Well, I say I have just a few verses, but let me give you a couple of verses. In Genesis 2, verses 2 through 3, it says, by the seventh day, God had finished the work he had been doing. So on the seventh day, he rested from all his work. Then God blessed the seventh day and made it holy, because on it he rested from all the hard work of creating he had done. So what does this tell us? It tells us that God values rest. If you're a busy mom or dad out there, God values your rest. Take that rest. And here's another one. Psalm 46:10. It says, be still and know that I am God. God doesn't always want us to be on the move. And here's another one from Psalm 62:1. Truly my soul finds rest in God. My salvation comes from him. I love that one. Ecclesiastes 4:6. Better a handful of tranquility than two handfuls with toils and chasing after the wind. You might say, Kendra, what do you mean by that? If we just have one handful of being tranquil, that 5 minutes of time, rather than filling up our entire day and being overwhelmed, or having two handfuls of toil, rather than that one handful of tranquility, we would stop chasing after the wind or chasing after things that really don't matter. Let me give you another one in Matthew 14:23. After he, meaning Jesus, dismissed them, he went up to the mountainside by himself to pray. Later that night, he was there alone. Even Jesus took time for himself. Okay, just one more, I promise. Mark 6:31. You can tell here I'm just trying to emphasize that it's okay. You can take time for yourself without guilt, because our Lord did, and he wants us to. So Mark 6:31 says, then because so many people were coming and going, they did not even have a chance to eat. He said, come with me by yourselves to a quiet place and get some rest. Could you use some rest today? Maybe you could. Could you use a little bit of time for yourself today? I'm sure that you could. I know I could. So let's just take a look at these 3 treasured priorities: our family, our acts of service or ministry work, and then time for ourselves without guilt. I've created a Treasured 3 weekly planner. I'll put the link down below, and I pray this day that you will be able to, without guilt, be able to have these priorities over your life in a tranquil, orderly, structured way. But don't worry about perfection. God bless you.